Imagine a world where the food you eat can be used as medicine or become your very worst enemy. Unfortunately or fortunately, that is the world we live in today. Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's Michael here, and today I am going to go through some science benefits of using an animal-based or carnivore-based diet and comparing them to the outdated fad diets of the 1980s and 1990s. What is the goal here? It's very simple: using food as medicine. For decades, we've all been fed numerous amounts of advice. Low fat, high carb, low carb, just move more, just move less. And these popularity diets worked for some people, but did they really work in the long run? Today we're going to set that record straight, and we're going to explore a more basic foundation that I believe our civilization was founded upon, which is the benefits of an animal-based diet, and looking at how sustainable this can be to the path for better health. And so for our channel, I have essentially decided to spend a 4-part series breaking down the benefits in various aspects of dieting, and how muscle growth will be, attuned better in the long run by adhering to one of these diets. So when we say food is medicine, what we're doing is talking about the concept that what we put into our bodies can either contribute to disease or help us heal from said disease. We've seen it time and again, the popularity of different diets throughout the years, certainly through my lifetime, and talking about whether or not high carb and low carb and high protein and low protein is necessary, high fat and low fat. What does that do? How does that contribute? And now what we're really starting to see is more science come out to say overly processed, high sugary types of foods lead to types of inflammation and even chronic metabolic illnesses. And the more processed that something is, the more that it will contribute to that chronic illness. Now, on the other hand, what we're beginning to see mainstream is going back to what we think we as a people essentially founded all of our nutrition based upon, which are animal types of products. We know now, the science tells us, that they are more nutrient rich, they are whole food, and essentially when you're looking at vitamins and minerals, and especially fats for females, this is what we need to use to have our bodies thrive. Let's take a quick trip back to the 1980s and 90s, where dieting became mainstream and everyone had their own advice to give. Remember the low-fat craze? The idea that eating fat made you fat? So the market exploded with low-fat and fat-free products. And sometimes I mean that in a literal sense. I don't know if anyone else remembers this. I remember this. But Ruffles actually came out with a new type of, I think it was oil now, called Olean. And so they were promoting a low-fat chip that was giving everyone massive amounts of diarrhea. But here's the kicker with all of that, right? When companies removed the fat, they still added something in place because they have to keep the taste alive. And what they added was sugar. So while people thought they were eating healthier, they were actually consuming more sugar, leading to a substantial rise in obesity and diabetes. Then came the high-carb, low-protein diets. These were designed to keep us full with carbs, but they often left us on a roller coaster of energy highs and energy lows. And now, again, we have enough science to tell us what that means when we have that so-called crash, and what it means when insulin spikes and how that contributes to health. Not to mention those diets that were extreme calorie restriction or weight loss pills back in the 80s that promised faster results but led to absolute metabolic slowdown and in some cases complete metabolic shut down. And again, when we're looking at female health, that is a big, big concern. So, what's different about animal-based and carnivore diets? For starters, these diets are based on real, whole foods that provide complete proteins, healthy fats, and vital nutrients in a form that is easily absorbed by the body. An animal-based diet prioritizes food like grass-fed beef, pasture-raised eggs, wild-caught salmon, and even some organ meats. The focus is on nutrient density, basically packing as much nutritional value as possible into every bite that we take. The carnivore diet takes it a step further, limiting or even excluding plant foods and sticking primarily to animal products. So let's talk about the benefits. First, clear nutrient density. Animal foods are loaded with vitamins and minerals that our bodies need. Think of vitamins B12, omega-3, iron, zinc, vitamin D. Again, thinking about my age, thinking about Julie's age, these become more and more essential as we get older and trying to keep the amount, I guess we would say, or the percentage of lean muscle mass that we have in our bodies. Unlike plant-based sources, the nutrients in animal products are in a form that's highly bioavailable. That means that it's easier for our bodies to absorb and to use. Research has shown that these nutrients support everything from brain health to immune function. Another big benefit, blood sugar stability. With lower sugar intake and fewer carbs, these diets help stabilize sugar levels. Studies suggest that animal-based diets may improve insulin sensitivity. This means our bodies are better at managing blood sugar. This is a huge benefit for people with or at risk for diabetes. Now, I can tell you that going a step further and looking at it from a biochemical process, you realize that a human body can only take in and use protein, fat, and carbohydrate. Each one has a different metabolic calorie that we have to burn to be able to utilize. The only way that we can get any of these to flip-flop back and forth to one another chemically is with a carbohydrate and a fat. Chemically, if you look at it, if we limit our carbohydrates, where is our body going to get our energy? The reason why the keto and all of these words are coming up now as mainstream is because we have learned that using the fat and adding water to it, again, chemically, we can make a carbohydrate internally and burn that as energy. And so now you're looking at the benefits of being able to have that body adjust and switch signals and be able to utilize fat as its primary source of energy. Lastly, there is inflammation. Many chronic diseases today, from heart disease and autoimmune disorders, those are our two biggies, are linked directly back to inflammation. These animal-based diets, particularly when you're consuming high-quality grass-fed meat, have been shown to be anti-inflammatory. They reduce the body's dependence on sugars and processed foods, helping to lower this inflammation. Let's not forget about the mental and physical benefits. Okay? A lot of people report improved focus, a better mood, and stable energy on an animal-based diet. Now, I won't tell you that it's fun in the beginning. There are ups, there are downs, and there are crashes associated with your body trying to figure out a new way to use energy when you have, I guess, let's say, stuck with the typical American diet. So once you get over, and I would tell you personally about 2 weeks, that initial fog, they call it keto flu, you will have an improved focus, and a better mood. And what essentially is happening here is that we are reorganizing hormone use and stabilizing hormone levels on a huge scale. Now, for athletes, the high protein content supports muscle repair and endurance. Plus, when you get over that sugar crash, many people find they are able to stay sharper and more energized throughout the day. That whole 2:30 crash when we're at work in the middle of the day has really seen, when you look at the research, to be a non-issue any longer for individuals who have been on these types of diets. So where can you start? Where we started by transitioning over, because, of course now we are carnivore, but we transitioned from animal-based into carnivore. It wasn't drastic changes. I can remember the very first day, Julie and I decide that we're going to go to Longhorn Steakhouse. We're going to get the ribeye because research tells you that that's a very good cut of fatty beef. And while we're waiting, we're not going to get a side, but while we're waiting, we're going to order the bread and eat the butter, and only the butter. And the waitress looked at us like we were weirdos. And I got to the point, again, trying to work out and do this was a learning curve. It took, again, about 2 weeks to be able to start to feel like I was doing something beneficial versus that whole thing that we've kind of been taught and really ingrained in us all our lives, is that you have to have carbs for energy. And while I won't disagree that we do have to have carbs for energy, I do, and am very well aware, know that our body can utilize fats to turn them into carbohydrates. So we simply started making burger meat and eggs and cheese. That's what we were trying to do. I got to the point that I was sick of chewing. It was just too much trying to chew through a pound of beef a day. It got very boring. I do not care to make steaks at home. Not having a grill really doesn't help that. And so we're also not going to go spend, close to $100 a day eating out. So slowly what we began to see is I moved over into some bacon. I moved to sausage, kind of eliminated chicken altogether. But really the first key I would tell you is to take away anything processed and start adding in, whether it's just a few eggs a day, whether it's some raw cheese a day, whether it's a half a pound or one hamburger without anything, on it. And essentially what begins to happen is you see the slow changes, if you will, the train starting up and beginning to move to the point that you try, or at least I hope you do, to become more strict or allow yourself to become more centered around that animal-based diet. I will also tell you something that became a lifesaver for us was pure organic raw honey. Luckily enough, Julie's uncle is a beekeeper. He does that in his spare time, and so we get some honey on the regular, and that becomes something that's extremely good on red meat. So experiment with different kinds of meats and add more eggs. There are times I'll eat a dozen eggs just in one sitting, and it's so funny to watch my family, especially my mother, right, who was in her 30s in the 1980s, to look at those dozen eggs and her eyes get real big and her eyebrows go up into her hairline, and she's like, your cholesterol is going to go through the roof. Maybe, but we know more about cholesterol now. We know more about what these numbers essentially mean. Now, I would tell you not to kind of shy away or be afraid to try organ meats. That's not me. That is not me. Jules has tried some liver. I have not. I do not wish to at all. I am not going to go pick up a beef heart. I am not going to go eat a beef kidney. I've dissected those things in the lab. That is a learning curve I cannot overcome, mainly because of the smell. but also the tissue and then, core memory of scalpel and gloves and so on and so forth. But what I will tell you is, again, another marketing scheme, ploy, or simply helping in my instance, is that when we as a nation transitioned away from organ meats in our normal everyday diet, we got multivitamins. And the multivitamin was created, solely created, based around the nutrients found in beef liver, except we made it with synthetic vitamins. Now, we can go down the whole route of your fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins. A, E, D, and K are your fat-soluble, so those are what we call your essential vitamins. But again, I just read to you, you're going to get the bulk of that with red meat. The rest of it can come and go. We can talk about magnesium, we can talk about having more iron, we can talk about calcium and age dependency. So that's why for me, instead of eating organ meat, I will add a multivitamin to my diet. But I'll tell you not to be afraid, but I can't really speak to that because I am afraid. I don't want to eat that. And look, the key here is sustainability, right? We don't want to get into a situation of having these fad diets like the past. I know they were very difficult to maintain, having many, many family members on them at one time or another. Sometimes now, looking back on it, they were found to be harmful. Animal-based diet is simply about giving your body what it needs to be the best that it can be. I will tell you that listening to the body and starting slow is the key. I will also tell you that it's not a 100% everyday devotion. I can even speak to that myself. What I would tell you is 98% is spent making sure that I do have that nutrient-rich, animal-based product every day. But there are also birthdays, there are also holidays, there are also family members that Julie and I want to spend time with. And so when the case does arise, it is a one-off, it is a rarity. I'm okay with being the weird one at the table at a normal meal. It's one of those things that when you're looking at the past 40-ish years of pushing and pushing and pushing mainstream American diet, that overcoming the stereotypes of me and Julie being the extreme is so ridiculous. Because when you look at it, it was all based around the marketing of these food products and these over-processed fake chemicals. So remember, listen to yourself, don't pay attention to anyone else, and start slow. Every little bit will begin to help. And once you do begin to feel better, you're going to want to do more. Or at least that was what I took away from it when I started trying this diet. So just a quick recap. The fad diets of the 80s and 90s sold us quick fixes and empty promises, that's for sure. In contrast, animal-based and carnivore diets emphasize real food and support our health on every level. We have enough core research to defend that. From blood sugar stability to mental clarity, the benefits speak for themselves. So, if you're curious about animal-based, carnivore-based, alternative-based diets to the mainstream, please seek out a nutritional specialist, an MD, someone who is willing to give you more information. I am simply giving you my example of how I have transitioned to feeling my absolute best. Now, please also remember to do your own research. You do not have to listen to just the mainstream, right? That is one of the things I think that we have found the ability to do over the last year and a half, probably close to 2 years. But the point of this is realizing that you absolutely have the power to pick the right nutrition to use your food as medicine. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you again shortly with another video surrounding ourselves around some research and how we can improve our bodies. Have a great day.